All right, welcome to the third video on the inventory program. In this video, we're going to talk about some more functions and some more features of your program. So let's just go over what we've already talked about. We've already talked about that you need to greet the user. We've already talked about how to declare an array of your new data type. In my example, it's students, and how to put 6 entries into your array. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to do the menu. So in your program, you're going to have your main function, and let's just remember that we have a student struct, and the fields of our student are LName, and we also have an integer for the ID and a double for the GPA. And our struct is called student. So this is not how you define a struct. You have to go back and watch the other videos to figure out and understand how to do that. So we've already filled our array in the last video, and now we need to, well, let's make the menu first, and then we need to try out our print feature. Now you can choose to try out print to see if it's filled properly, but I'm going to do the menu first. So in our main function here, if you remember, we have declared an integer to keep track of the count, and a student, that's my data type, yours can be whatever you want to name it, a student list to be of size, which is 40 students in the list, potentially 40 students. Then we've added 6. Go back to the other video to figure out how to do that, and then we of course have to make our count 6. It's very, very important that you make your count 6. The reason is because if you don't keep track of the count, there's no way for your program to know how many are in there. So make sure that you're always making updates to your count. If you add one, you add another one. If you delete one, you change your count down by 1. All right, now we're going to run our menu. So we need to have a letter, and you're going to have to deal with upper and lower case, but basically what you want to do is you want to use a function. So we're going to have a function you're going to have to figure out how to do this function, but you're going to have a function that's going to prompt for the input, like P to print A. So it's just one big prompt. You've been doing this kind of thing throughout the semester, so you're just going to have a big prompt like P to print and A to add, etc., and then get a character. All right, so this is a function, so you're going to need to make this function. This is not a function, like this right here is not a function, but you're going to make a function that does that information. Now you can either have the function have a character return type, or you can have the function use a pointer to the character. It doesn't matter, but go back to previous assignments to understand how to do that. I'm just going to make it simple and have the function do a character return type. So what does that mean? So I'm going to say let equals and get input. Now you can name the function whatever you want, but basically this is the function that says enter P for this, whatever. So you're going to get the input from the user. Now the reason that I've decided to do it first, because this is going to be the initialization for my loop. Then I'm going to test, so then I have to make it, I'm going to have to make it upper or lowercase. And then I'm going to have a test. So this is going to be initialization for my while loop. And then I'm going to have a test for my while loop. And what is that test going to be? The test is going to be while it is not a queue. A queue is going to make the loop stop. So if the user enters any other letter, the loop will continue to go, but a Q will make the loop stop. Now you need to, spend a little time figuring this out. This is obviously just notes, but I'm giving you some help. And then in here, I'm going to have a bunch of conditions. So I'm going to put like if let equals P, then I'm going to printf. This is where I call the print function. Else if let equals I don't know, what other letters are there? A, then this is where I'm going to call add. Now obviously when you start to do your program, you're going to actually call these functions, but in the development process you can't try to implement everything at the same time. So you're going to have to develop, make the menu, try all the letters, make sure that if you put in a P that it prints the word print, make sure that if you put in an A that it prints the word add, make sure that if you put in a Q that the loop stops, make sure that if you put anything else, my suggestion would be to put not recognized. So you would have an if let is a P, if let else if let is an A, else if let is a D, etc. until you get to the last else where you would say else printf unrecognized. And because this is a loop, don't forget that you need to update. And you update by, once again, calling your getInput function. So you would call your getInput function again here for your update. So what does the getInput function do? It goes over here to the function. This would be the getInput function. And what it does is it says enter P, whatever. It tells the user to enter the information. It comes back. That information gets assigned to the variable let. And then you test the variable let here. And then you update the variable let. All right, so that's how you're going to set up the loop and you're going to test it. So now so far we have put 6 items into our student list. We've set our count to 6. And we are now able to run our loop. So let's do our first option in our loop. All right, so the first option in our loop is going to be the print to the screen function. So the print to the screen function, again, you can name it whatever you want. But this is a good function because the print to the screen function gives us the opportunity to see if all the items have been properly placed into our list. Now it's very important to realize that you need to test before moving on. If your loop isn't working properly, there's no reason to start to implement all of these functions. So our print to the screen function has a void return type and it's going to take a student list as its argument and the number of items in the list. So it's very important. So if we have 6 items in our list, count will be 6, and it will go from 0 to 5. All right, and so that we're going to use the same for loop that we've been using throughout the semester for arrays. And we will just start at the beginning of the array, I equals 0, I less than count, I plus plus, and then we will printf. Name is %s, and what is the name? The name is going to be list at index, oops, not a 0, I, it's going to start at 0, dot lname. So if you can't read that, it says list at index I dot lname. So when I is 0, it's going to go to our array, which is our list. This is our list. This is index 0. We're going to have in here, like Jones, whatever we put in there, I don't remember, the ID and the GPA. And each one of these, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 because we've filled it already. We have filled our array already. From our add 6 function, we have added 6. So then to print the next field, printf, of course you're going to have to format with \n and stuff and make it look nice. List at index I dot ID. All right, so that's how you do the print to screen function. So after you've done the print to screen function and you've set this all up and you've print all your 6 fields out, test it. Make sure that you've got all 6 of your items that you have hard-coded and filled into your array. Make sure that it's working. Now I also would do, if count is equal to 0, you want to let the user know that the list is empty. And if count is equal to 0, this loop will never go because 0 cannot be less than 0, and that condition will never be true. All right. The next function I'm going to work on is save to file. This save to file is going to take our same list and the count. Now the save to file is going to do exactly the same thing that the print to screen function did, only it's going to put it into a file. So the way that you do that is you declare a file pointer. You connect to the file. I don't know what the name of it is, but if it says what to name it, then name it. It's for writing. And then once you've connected to the file, you can use the file the same way that you have been using the files throughout the semester. fopen does not have a T, it's fopen. And then you will just use the same loop, but instead of using printf, you will be using fprintf. Then you would put fprintf, and it's going to go to out pointer. Make sure that you use the pointer. Not once you've connected, you don't care anymore about, your program will know which one it is connected to. So you put out pointer, then you want to put name %s, and then you would put list at index I dot lname. And this is the same that you would do for all of the fields. So do all fields. And then when you're done, you want to close the file pointer, because each time you want to create a new report. What you want it to do is to overwrite what was in the file the last time. All right, so that's how you do the save to file function. And after you do the save to file function, I strongly encourage you to build, run, and test. Let's do the next function, add. Now the add function is going to add an item to your list. So the add function will have a void return type. You want to add a student to your list. It's going to take your student list, and it's also going to take the count. Now this time it's very important because the count stores the location of the next one, and after you make your function call to your add student function, you need to make sure that you update your count. That's very, very, very important, because after you have 6 items in your list and then you add, now your count would be 7. So you need to make sure that you update your count back from the main function from where you have called the add student function. If you update it in here, it's only going to update its local copy of the count. Now if you choose to use a pointer for your count, that's a different story, but again, this is not the only way to do this. So how do you add? All right, now let's just say in our list that we have 6 items, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is count? Count is going to be 6. So count is going to be the location. These are filled in. So count is going to be the location of the first empty one. So it's very simple. All you need to do is fill in the fields with user input of this one that is the first empty one. And to do that, you would just say printf. Of course, you have to prompt, enter name, scanf, %s into list at index count dot lname, and you would continue to do that for all fields. And then after the function is called, back in main, remember to add 1 to count. So that's how you add an item to your list. How do you clear your list? To clear the list, all you need to do is set the count equal to 0. You don't need a function to do this. You just, inside of your main function, if the user chooses the option C, you just say count equals 0. And that, it's not actually going to flush all of your items from memory. It's just going to let your program know that when it goes to do the for loop, that there's nothing in there, there's nothing to print to the screen. And when it goes to add one, it's going to add it at location count, which if you set count to 0, if this is your list, then count will be right here, and whatever was there before when you do the add function, that will be overwritten. All right, let's go to the next option. So